I thought we could start today by talking about Corona and the streaming wars. I know it's something you've been thinking a lot about lately. Lots of people are arguing that the current crisis is a kind of turning point in the market, a kind of seismic moment in the streaming wars. What's your take? Is this the start of something fundamentally new and different?
I don't really think so. I mean, the reality is we've already been, for the last several years, moving away from linear TV. I mean, ratings declines on linear TV have been accelerating. That's nothing new. I mean, there's no doubt that people have been looking to streaming, whether it's Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu and now Disney Plus. We've seen an increasing array of streaming options, not to mention free things like YouTube, which has been around for quite some time. You know, the number 2 most used app on Apple TV and Roku is YouTube. Number 1 is Netflix, but you know, YouTube is free and is used a tremendous amount on big screen devices. It's actually the fastest growing part of YouTube. And so the underlying trends have been around for a while. I think the reality is, in a point in time where TV content is starting to run on fumes, you know, we're approaching the end of the TV season. Whatever's not in the can is obviously not getting completed. We're moving into kind of the quiet summer period anyway. At the same time that consumers are stuck at home looking for something to do. And remember, there's no sports. And so you're looking at this unique moment in time where I think it just accelerates the underlying trend. It gives more reasons for people to move away from linear TV. You know, we've seen early ratings data coming out of the pandemic. TV ratings are, of course, are up. I mean, people are trapped at home, so it's not surprising that people are watching more TV than they did before. But the relative gains are far more weighted towards streaming. The increased numbers you're seeing, you know, I just saw the numbers for This Is Us. They were still down year over year for the series season finale. So yeah, it was better than last week. It was better than the week before that, but it was still down year over year. So streaming is taking far, you know, the vast majority of the gain in time spent is going to streaming services. And look, the reality is over the next several weeks, after people watch this video, you're going to have even more streaming choices, right? I mean, Quibi's launching in April. Peacock is launching, at least for Comcast and subscribers, in April. Hopefully more. I would just hope they accelerate the launch more broadly. And then HBO Max sometime in May, if they don't accelerate it from, going to be even more for you to do on streaming at the same time that linear TV is becoming less and less interesting.
Rich, do you think we're going to see a kind of ongoing shift in the way that content is funded? So one observation that some people are making at the moment is that the economics of subscription streaming services, particularly those which scale internationally, seem particularly well suited for funding the kind of high value, high end premium drama and scripted entertainment that lots of consumers are used to. And at a time when linear viewings are under significant pressure, there's no sport, which has been one of the kind of mainstays of traditional broadcast television. Some people are arguing that this will tip the balance even further towards subscription economics as a way of funding a lot of what consumers want. Do you think there's a kind of long-term business model shift underway like that?
I mean, I look at it a little bit more broadly from the standpoint of name the last linear TV show that broke out. I mean, you know, it's been a long time since there was a quote unquote breakout hit, certainly scripted. I mean, This Is Us is probably the last major scripted show to launch on linear TV. And the numbers are probably half the viewership from a few years ago. When you look at, you know, think about from an unscripted reality TV perspective, I mean, I guess Masked Singer, I mean, the numbers are still not anywhere near what reality numbers used to be like 4 and 5 years ago. But it's really almost become, I guess, impossible to launch a linear TV show. I mean, consumers simply just don't want to watch week to week with 18 minutes or more of commercials. And so the most ambitious projects are all going to streaming. I mean, think about it. Disney didn't put Mandalorian on Disney Channel or ABC. They put it on Disney Plus. If you think about, you know, the new shows from, you know, think about Hulu's new shows. I mean, even FX's big new series are not airing on the FX network. They're airing on Hulu. Something like Devs doesn't even go to the FX network. I think we're seeing this trend. All of the media companies realize if you're putting a brand new show on linear TV, it's not going to get meaningful viewership. I mean, you may feel like you have to put something there to fill airtime because you've got advertisers who spend money. But the reality is everything that's ambitious. I mean, Dr. Death is going to Peacock, not to NBC prime time. All the shows that you would have expected to be on primetime TV, broadcast, or cable, all of the big ones are heading directly to streaming. So I think sort of the industry has spoken. It's over for linear TV, big, expensive productions. They're just not going to happen anymore. They're all going to shift over to one of these streaming platforms. And I just think that's, think about even CBS All Access. The new Star Trek series premieres there, not on CBS on Friday night. I mean, I just think the industry has already spoken, and it's going to get harder and harder for anyone to justify a major investment in a linear TV show. And I think that's why linear TV becomes more about sports and news going forward, because it's the only place where those industries can reach the type of mass audiences that they need to reach. They can't yet do that on streaming. That's just not behaviorally, and there's no advertising to support it. But yet everything that's sort of on-demand, watchable, entertainment content-wise is going to shift over to the streaming world.
Do you think the US market is getting close to carrying capacity when it comes to high-end mass market streaming services? You mentioned Peacock and a few others due to launch in the next 6 months or so. How many more services can the market sustain?
Oh, I think lots. I mean, remember, the average consumer was spending upwards of $100 a month for a cable video bill. Unless you were a sports customer, a diehard sports fan, a lot of what you were spending for was for sports that you weren't watching. And so as you think about the ability to take your cable bill down from $100 a month for video down to, let's just say, $50 for Tube TV or $55 for a Hulu Live, that frees up a lot of money to go redeploy into services. And remember, nobody ever signed up for Comcast video service for 6 months or even 3 months. If you want to sign up for ESPN Plus because you're a big fan of, a certain basketball league or a certain, call it, you're a big fan of Series A soccer over in Europe, it's now really easy to sign up and then cancel. I mean, if you want to sign up for CBS All Access, binge, Picard over the weekend, or you want to sign up for, HBO Max to go watch Friends for 6 months after it launches. I mean, turning on and off is now a click of a button. There's no more friction to cancellation nor sign up. No waiting for someone to come to your house, no waiting on hold to disconnect and having to turn the equipment into a service center. I mean, all of this has now become point click instantly. And so I think you're going to end up, you'll have a few core services that function much like basic cable. That's probably Netflix for one, but I think you're going to, rotate in and out of a lot of these other services based on what's interesting. I mean, I just turned my Showtime back on because I wanted to, watch Homeland and binge through it over the course of the weekend. I don't need Showtime for a long time. I just needed to watch, Homeland and Billions, and then I don't need it anymore. And so I think consumers will manage their subscriptions much like they manage things on their phone. I mean, think about it. There may be an app you want, you download it, then you stop using it. We're all using Zoom a lot right now. Will we need Zoom as much when this is all over? I doubt it. I mean, maybe this becomes more habitualized, but the reality is, I think you're going to manage your subscription life and have a lot more control over it, and in and out of service, which isn't great for those services, obviously, but is really great for the consumer.
And a final quick question, Rich. Where do you see gaps in current provision? Do you see kind of greenfield opportunity out there for new streaming services? Obviously, there are a lot of companies clustering at that top end of the market, all competing with very high-end episodic drama. Do you see sort of unclaimed territory out there?
Well, it's funny you say that. I mean, I guess I sort of disagree with the premise. I think about what my kids have been watching and my wife has been watching over the last week, and there was a lot of Love is Blind being consumed, and something called The Circle, which I'd never even heard of on Netflix. Reality TV shows are huge on these platforms. Things that people never thought would work on streaming services are working. And I think you're seeing an array of content. I mean, we're seeing, Spanish TV shows that are doing really well in the US, German TV shows, Israeli TV shows. I mean, the global content and in all genres. I mean, comedy specials and movies, and it's well, my point is, it's not just high-end comedies and dramas. The breadth of content on these services is really broadening out. And I think if you look at what HBO Max is trying to do, I mean, I think the one thing that John Stankey and team at AT&T have emphasized is that this can't just be high-end HBO-like content. They need to expand the breadth, really be four quadrant: kids content, family content, reality, rom-coms. You know, I think Hello Sunshine has a rom-com deal with HBO Max. You're going to see, I think, these services really broaden out. You may see certain obviously stay at the very high end, but I think if you look at Netflix, they're really trying to be essentially everything in the cable bundle historically, other than sports and news. I think HBO Max is following in those footsteps, and it'll be interesting to see whether the nichier services, how they fare, meaning things like Hulu, things like Disney Plus, do they ultimately broaden out or even become one, rather than trying to have these sort of silos that they've created.